Welcome back, MCU fans. Thank you for joining the Bearded Wonder, Tim and myself, for yet another installment of our journey through the MCU. And today we are going to be breaking down the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Before we get too far into it, we did have some audience feedback, and I got to be honest, it seems like the opinions this week were much more friendly to the show than when we did WandaVision last week.
Yeah.
So I found that quite interesting, and I almost want to do like a call and response thing down the road for WandaVision after we see the Multiverse of Madness. I kind of want to do a call back to the show and have those people who hated it share their thoughts at that time on a rewatch. But that's kind of just something in the back of my head right now. So without further ado, we did have some great comments this week. Corey Banker, who, by the way, shout out to Corey. He gave Zoe an awesome Spider-Gwen book for her birthday Sunday. Ryan knows that's really cool. But when asked the favorite part about Falcon and Winter Soldier, he said everything Zemo, didn't care for much in Civil War, but he shined in the series. And he said he may have watched the YouTube video of him dancing for an hour straight. And Justin Trombley agreed with him, said the same thing. And he also was a fan of the John Walker versus Sam and Bucky fight. He said easily his most memorable fight in the MCU. And man, after rewatching it, Tim, I don't know how you feel, but God, that fight was so well done. So great. And so I kind of agree with that there too. I know that you're big on the cinematography part of it, so I'm curious to hear what you think when we get there. But as somebody who just likes that bit of action and grunting, I was all about it. Sherry Netter Timothy, she said she liked how they showed the effects on soldiers. The PTSD is so prevalent. When John Walker is speaking, telling them that they made him who he was, she said tears, probably the best serious moment for her. And as far as fun, the Bucky Sam fight for sure. And yeah, we'll definitely dive into that. Longtime listener Ellen, she said Bucky fighting with the Dora Milaje. She loved it so much. And Tim, you know how I feel about my Dora. And when we see Sam as Captain America for the first time, she said she got chills. Sam George, who admittedly has not finished it yet, said couples therapy. Sam's going to give us full thoughts once he finishes the show. But I thought that was kind of funny because he's on episode 1 there. The great Jeanette, who let's do Jay Plays Okay, a little shout out right now while we got Jeanette's name fresh here. Twitch, I believe it's Jay Plays Okay, right, Tim?
Yep, twitch.tv/Jay Plays Okay.
And that's JAY Plays Okay letters, right?
Yeah, okay, not OKAY.
Yes, just the 2 letters okay.
Yep.
And so she said Bucky flirting with Sam's sister when he showed up to help out. The whole montage of them repairing the boat together is a metaphor for repairing their relationship. It's just the chef's kiss. And to be honest, I never caught that metaphor, but when she said it, I was like, oh, that makes complete sense. I just had fun. I was hoping that he ended up with his sister. So props to you for bringing that one to light. And then our guy, Gary Baker, Gary B, the casual comic guy, said the Bucky and Sam talk practicing with the shield was his favorite moment. So thanks again for everybody who got involved in this. And just so you know, you will all be entered into a drawing that we will be doing next week to kick off the show. With everybody's feedback, and you will be getting a pretty unique, limited prize, I guess I will say, that I'm happy to give out. That will be coming from somebody that I'm actually going to give a shout out to at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that. Keep answering the questions. We love the responses. And as usual, it's probably going to drive some of the dialogue today. You know, Tim, I think you rewatched it within the last week, right?
Yeah, I just finished it up yesterday, actually.
So it's really fresh for you. I binged all 3 within a week and a half, and now I'm sitting here, man, I wish I would have waited taking that approach. So you just finished Falcon and Winter Soldier. What worked for you?
So, okay. This show just barely edged out WandaVision as my favorite of the 3 that we've gotten so far. And there's a lot to love, even though there's a lot more negatives coming from me this week, the more I think about it. But we'll get to that later. The biggest thing for me that I loved about the show is the chemistry. The chemistry between Sam and Bucky. I don't think any pair has had better chemistry than these 2 have in this show, including Steve and Bucky. There's just something about it. They just developed such a bond, and Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie work so well together that I just want to see more of them. It's one of the few times where I actually don't mind seeing the hero more than the villain because usually,
Mhm.
as history shows, they make the villains more um, interesting.
Well, what was funny, in the pressers, they were talking about how, like, at one point, Anthony Mackie told Sebastian Stan, like, hey, come live with me during the pandemic. Like,
Yeah.
they got that tight where it's like they hung out
Mhm.
together constantly through the
Yeah.
filming. And then they were like going to be roomies throughout all of this. And then Sebastian said he just couldn't handle all the, going out and stuff like that. That's just not his scene. But
Yeah.
just knowing that they're that tight outside. And I don't know if you caught one of the pressers, a lot of their interactions, it was more of like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. See what you can do, kind of thing. So a lot of those lines weren't even written. It was just their pure chemistry drove
That's
that.
awesome.
Amazing.
Number two, and this is a huge number two, probably like another number one. John Walker, freaking Wyatt Russell is so amazing. He knocked it out of the park. He really showed. He, he really exemplified and radiated the theme of what I forgot the scientist's name from that gave Steve the serum originally. But when he sat down with Steve saying, not a perfect soldier but a good man, you're seeing the other side of that coin with John, and it just combined with what Lamar was saying about how the serum makes you more, power just makes you more of yourself. That couldn't have been John Walker more in a nutshell. Yeah, God, he was just so fantastic, and
And he made you hate him, right?
yeah. No, I loved him more.
Really?
Yeah. If you'll pardon the surprise, I liked him more than Zemo in this
Wow.
show. Yeah. And I'll get to that in just a second. Yeah. But past that, like Sam's sister was good. There's just a lot of good casting all around. I really like the guy who played Dr. Nagel, even as little as he was in the show. But yeah, overall great casting, great solid themes, and he did a really good job of tying that into the show itself, and just it was very in your face, like it needs to be in this case.
I think the casting was just amazing from the major players to the small players. That was one of the big things that worked for me. Like Daniel Bruhl, yeah, it was great to see him again. He was spot on in this role and everything else. But I mean, Aaron Kellyman as Carly. What were you saying?
Oh, I was going to bring up, the guy who plays Isaiah Washington. Yeah.
Carl Lumbly.
Yeah.
He stole the whole damn show for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every scene he was in, he was just a commanding presence, but he was able to bring that like old, tired inflection. But yeah, he was commanding.
When he spoke, it reminded me of a lot of talks I heard like years ago in barbershops and stuff like that, from the older generations, like talking and everything. And man, something about it. And I don't like Steve Rogers, Captain America, not in the MCU, not in the comics. I always thought it was boring. I really have never been a very big Captain America fan. But I remember when they introduced Isaiah Bradley in the comics, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Right. And so I really enjoyed that. And then, we had Battlestar, who that's kind of one of those arcs for Captain America liked. And I think if you remember when we were talking during the Spotify podcast for No Coast Defenders, we talked a lot about the comic book arc that I was referring to and all of this. And that's like this one brief arc of Captain America I love. So getting all these characters is just amazing. But I mean, just the casting alone, I know somehow Don Cheadle got nominated for an Emmy for like 1:45 of acting.
I loved how he was as confused as everyone else was.
Yes, his response to that was great. But I mean, I love Don Cheadle. Anthony Mackie over the years, since I think I was probably Four Brothers, I saw him and has just grown on me as an actor. I will watch anything he does. Wyatt Russell, revelation. This Aaron Kellyman is Carly, though that's going to quote my negative thing. It's not the acting. I think she was amazing in that role. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, keep sprinkling her on me, on me, because holy shit, she's just such a great cast for this.
And that's the thing. She was original. Everyone knows that she was supposed to show up originally in Black Widow.
Mhm.
I liked it better with this timeline. I liked her better showing up in Falcon and Winter Soldier because it was more of an introduction than her just showing up next to Yelena.
Yeah, it's actually like she has purpose and we know it. And so it's kind of better the way it went in Black Widow. Like it's in reverse, but it's almost better. We had Adipura Udier, which was Sam Wilson's sister, Sarah. She played her part so well. I really liked her facial acting throughout all of that. Florence Kasumba, give me AO all the time. I can't wait. I'm so excited. She got me really pumped for what's to come with all the Wakanda stuff that we're about to get out of Ryan Coogler, and I'm so excited. But the show, I think, would also work is it sprinkled what's to come for us. So we got Elijah Richardson as Eli Bradley. We know we're going to see him when we get some Young Avengers action. We got Torres. We unfortunately got Petrock again. That doesn't have any implications. I just like to throw it out there when she wasn't there. But we have some of this world building that I don't think a lot of people are kind of cognizant of who don't know much of the later comic stuff. I talked to a lot of early Captain America fans of like the earlier comics and stuff who didn't really read on, to like Young Avengers and stuff like that. They're still chasing keys from the old stuff. And so like they loved it for what it was. And I'm sitting here like, oh my God, this is gonna be amazing what's to come, because they have such young actors that we're gonna see time and again. So my biggest what worked is the casting. And my second biggest that's probably tied for it is the chemistry, because every scene, like they don't miss a mark in any of it, even the facial expressions in that last moment. Where like they walk past John Walker and stuff like that, like all the nods, everything, all the cues were just on point. I'm big on, a lot of people said that this is like a social justice show, but it really wasn't if you think about it, because in the comics, we have these Captain Americas. We have this inner turmoil. We have all this dialogue. It's nothing new. It's just people didn't read the comics to understand it. But it just goes to show that Marvel has always been on that social justice component. It's just people fail to see it from that lens. I mean, if you look at the X-Men, obviously. But I think finally bringing that to the forefront and tying it to modern times in a way that still was the Captain America stuff. It was just beautiful the way they did it. And it's long overdue, and I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I think that it was very nice the way they did it. And the fact that a lot of the stuff that Anthony Mackie has championed off the screen, he was able to get out in this character and in that dialogue. So I think that's really special. So that's all what worked for me. Now, you said you were going to be a bit more negative this week than you usually are. So what didn't work?
I'm gonna let you take the lead with the negatives here.
Oh man, you're gonna let me wet blanket it.
Yep.
I hate the Flag Smasher storyline. Honestly, the Flag Smasher storyline by the end just felt like a ticket to get to a speech. It didn't feel like it mattered towards the end, to be honest. That could have been any character, that could have been any group of whatever. It felt like it just didn't matter. Back in what worked in Madripoor, there were X's on the doors. X-Men, they're coming.
X-Men confirmed.
There wasn't a lot that didn't work for me, to be honest. I remember talking to you about it. I'm like, I can't believe it's only 6 episodes. How are they going to wrap this up? And I think they wrapped it up well. But the method in which to get there wasn't that great. I love the ending scene with Zemo there and like orchestrating all of that stuff. But I also don't want to just spend all my time wondering like, well, where will Zemo show up next? Like that's just not fun to me, to be honest. It doesn't lay the groundwork that I think they think it does. Batroc, I think, what is his name?
George St. Pierre.
He's an awful actor. I don't know why they put him in stuff, and it just bugs me when he's on the screen. So, and that's a very small thing. To be honest, I didn't have a lot of complaints about this. My main complaint that comes out of it is Carter. When we have Agent Carter, I hate what they did with her at the end. That's not her. That's not the character. I'm going to get to that with my what's to come, and it's more of a wishful thinking than I think it is a reality. But That was just an awful turn for the story. You know, we could have just ended with the Dark Avenger stuff there with Julia Louis Dreyfus, and I would have been like, "Oh, perfect! I love this. I love where it's going." Um, Having that scene, Emily Van Camp, I like her a lot, and I like her in that role. I don't like where they wrote that role and where it seems to be going. That was actually one of the biggest disappointments for me, I think, in the MCU thus far. They took a show that was a brilliant 6 episodes, amazing watch. I had a bunch of holy shit moments and made me go, huh, that sucks. So, and this is after all the great bonding scenes, the Sam and Bucky stuff, you know, I don't know, after that speech, I felt like so deflated after that part with her. And I hope it has merit and is for a reason in the long run that I can actually sit with. But that was my biggest, what didn't work. I don't have a lot of stuff to hammer home, but that moment there is one of my least favorite in the MCU.
Oh, it's my turn now.
It is.
Okay. Yeah. Batroc. I'm just gonna leave it there. I don't think athletes should be actors whatsoever. This and the league also showed me that as well. All the football players that appear in that show are just god awful. But yeah, it was cool to see him there again in the beginning, kind of a callback to Winter Soldier, but it should have ended there. There wasn't any reason for him to come back. And Agent Carter, again, I'll leave it right there. You did a very good job explaining why it didn't work. So, yeah, I got nothing else to add. But I will add on the subject, during our No Coast Defenders episode talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier, our buddy Greg brought up the fact, you know, we got talking about our usual hatred of post-credit scenes, at least for you two. And he mentioned that it should have went to black after the Isaiah Bradley stuff at the museum. Yeah.
I forgot to mention that was an absolutely beautiful scene.
Yeah, gorgeous. So emotional. It really had me tearing up almost a second time. And then the post-credit scene should have been that party in New Orleans. Having the Sharon Carter stuff there at the end, setting up what's to come, really just threw a wrench in everything, and really threw off the pacing. And for some more like nitty gritty stuff, Zemo, I love seeing Daniel Bruhl again. I love that we finally got to see the mask. Was not nearly enough of the mask. I really wanted to see him be a little bit more badass than the 10 seconds that we did get. I wish they set his character up better, instead of saying, "Oh, didn't you know I'm rich?" Essentially. I wish they would have shown that a little bit more in Civil War. And I just don't. At the end of the day, I just don't like the fact that he was just there for character building for Bucky. Like the example that I like to use is in Star Wars, The Force Awakens. Captain Phasma, I know this doesn't mean anything to you, but for the people, for the Star Wars junkies at home, Captain Phasma was a phenomenal villain, really cool stormtrooper, and she was just there to accelerate the character for Finn, whose character ended up being awful anyways.
Yeah, that movie was so bad.
All the love to John Boyega and everything he's doing, but his character was awful. And that's how I feel with Zemo and Bucky. Just wasted potential for some good characterization on Zemo's part. And then, yeah, the Flag Smashers. I like the idea of having them as like a rebellion of sorts. But Aaron was fine. Didn't like her really that much. She was kind of one note to me. Very like monotone in her delivery. But I can't rag on them too much about that. About where the storyline went because of their complications with COVID. Excuse me. They definitely did the best they could, especially with their original storyline that was reportedly them using a biological weapon, which they had to scrap.
That was going to fly.
Yeah. But yeah, I respect what they did with it and the changes they made, but it still didn't hit that well. And that's pretty much all I got for the negatives. It's still my favorite show to date for Disney Plus, and I'm excited to see Hawkeye and Miss Marvel as well this year, and the What If series starting in about a week, and a week today it starts, and but yeah, I'm super thankful for what we've gotten so far.
We've been lucky, to be honest. These little, I guess they're pretty much like vignettes because they're not bookends by any means. They're just little introductions to these bigger things. So, the show's set up quite a bit. Where do you think it's set up for us in terms of the future of the MCU?
So, everything going on with Sharon, that could easily lead into Armor Wars. And obviously we got the fourth Cap movie coming. I hope they fix the suit a little bit. Just something going on in the shoulder area. just seemed a little clunky for me.
Yeah.
But it's that first time seeing it on camera. It's always gonna be a little janky. Bucky, I have no idea. I'm sure he'll be around, but
you think he might turn up in World of Wakanda?
Oh, absolutely. He's been this involved in Wakanda. There's no way he's not going to, especially now with his connection to AO.
Yeah.
And we can see him interact more with Okoye as well. That'll be pretty cool. The only other thing that I can see is with the last of those super soldiers in Morgan Curly's group getting blown up. I can see it being a pretty interesting dynamic between Zemo and John Walker if they do end up on a team together, because he is one of the last surviving super soldiers at this point. But that's really all I can think of.
Yeah, the Zemo stuff. I have no idea what the hell his purpose is even serving now. It's and I don't even want to speculate on that. I don't even want to guess because I have some other wild speculations. But
what else is new?
For what's to come, obviously Young Avengers. And I'm going to say this every week. Everything else. Obviously we have Dark Avengers. Thunderbolts are being set up. I genuinely, and I can't accept this as where Sharon Carter is going. I think it's Mystique, and I'm just throwing it out there. I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face like her. Madripoor, the X's, the way she's acting, the military access, the government access, it makes sense for so many story arcs of Mystique. And then with the Marvels coming up, it makes sense for them to introduce Rogue. Just throwing it all out there because it makes sense in my head, and it's the only way I can accept what they did with Sharon Carter. Otherwise, my middle fingers to them. I don't think we've seen the last of Lamar.
Really?
It was a very quick pan to him when he was down, and barely a check for oxygen. And also just going by the comics, I don't think we've seen the last of Lamar. I think he'll be back.
If anything, I hope he continues to kind of haunt John, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Anything else? I mean, we set up Armor Wars. We got that. Cap 4, I mean, everything is just so far down the road now. And, with everything going on with the world today, the pandemic. Who knows if stuff's going to get delayed, what's going to happen, all that garbage.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see what we have now. And I think it's smart of them to bring in the younger generation of actors to do all of this because they have longer to wait should things have to get pushed. So that's a really smart idea. I really like the casting of this, and I'm excited to see anybody come back that they did cast. It's so
Agreed.
cool. And it's one of those shows that's kind of hard to speculate from. And my reason for that is I think just I hated that ending so much where it made it hard for me to say what's coming because I didn't expect that at all. And nowhere, like if you ask me what's going to happen at the end of this episode, I've been like, oh, Sharon Carter's gonna do this. Like,
yeah, I just skipped it. I knew it was just gonna upset me. So
we got some Young Avengers action out of it and some Armor Wars. And I mean, in a lot of ways, it did set up World of Wakanda now. And their last scene, the Dora leaving on a raft. And so I'm really excited about what's to come with that show and what Cooler's gonna do. I genuinely great show, all around.
Yeah.
It's I think we were lucky to have that one. And it's interesting. A lot of the people I've seen shit on it are ones who actually didn't watch it. They just read reviews of it or read stuff online. And it also means they didn't know much about Cap. So
it was a really nice break and a nice return to the MCU that we know and love.
Mm-hmm.
Strong, solid themes, lots of good action.
It had a lot of heart, Wanda had emotions, but this movie or this show had heart, like just all heart and soul. I mean, even just that the cookout, everything. I love it so much.
Yeah, I just remembered one more negative that I had. As much as I love John Walker, I didn't like the way they ended his story in the show. I wish they would have left him. I wish they would have left him more of a villain, if not like a strong anti-hero, just so that way he could be a foil for Sam in the future.
Do you think it's positive or possible though that he took notice of everything, but he was also left out at the end, and so now he's going to want to be included, but not do it their way yet again?
Possibly.
So it almost like that is going to be his role because it's like, hey guys, I want to be part of the gang. I have my own methods kind of thing. I feel like that was set up with that snub at the end there, where he had just done what he thought was his part to help out and be one of the team, and they're still not letting him on the team.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I could be reading too much into it.
They just seemed a little too buddy there at the end, and it's got me concerned.
See, I took that as like a total cold shoulder. We're like, yeah, it was a nod, but it was like a nod and a fuck you kind of thing. That's what I took that as. So it's interesting. But I like the actor so much. I'm cool seeing whatever comes from it.
Oh yeah.
So that's 2 down, 1 to go. Loki next week.
I'll be honest, I'm really not looking forward to it.
I'm not either, to be honest. And I binged WandaVision in a day, Falcon and Winter Soldier in 2 days. Loki, I'm still trying to finish. So even knowing what happens makes it even more difficult for me. But we signed up to do this job, and we have 2 people listening to us, and so we gotta power through. So before we close out for the week here, do you have any shout outs, Tim? I know we did Jeanette already. Who else you got? We have a con coming up this weekend.
Yes, we do. If you're over by the Grease Bridge Mall, over by the Regal Theater, just outside of the theater, we'll be set up selling some Pokemon cards, pops, comics, cheap comics, and mainly cheap pops. So if you got nothing else going on, or you find yourself in the area, stop on down. At least come and say hi. We'll be lonely. We'll be there from 8 to 8 on Saturday. I will. You won't. And then 8 to 6, I believe.
And I will be there from 10 to 6 on Sunday with
10 to 6,
lots of graded books, lots of Grail pops, lots of cards, lots of Legends figures, everything. It's gonna be a good time, good community building. Everything spaced out, all that stuff. You don't gotta worry about that. Yep. And shout out to everybody who's donated to Pops for Patients New York in the past few weeks. We have had an uptick to the point where my garage is starting to fill up, and I have to go run them over to our storage spot at Vision Nissan, where Joe Manerick has a spot for us for the holiday season. So
Yeah.
Special shout out to Dan Askey. I think he's contributed like half of that stuff. But also a shout out to an artist who is just killing it. And he's been doing an amazing job with these shows and pictures from it. And that's Robert Bruno. I shouted him out last time. I'm going to shout him out next time because our prize winner next episode is getting some exclusive Robert Bruno prints that I purchased. So they aren't this. These are my personal ones. But here's one he did that's going to be hanging in my wall.
Oh, that's wow.
Robert Bruno, he does the watercolors.
That's
it's beautiful stuff. And this might be my favorite one. I think it's going to my office.
Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely
That's
beautiful.
Yeah.
And Robert Bruno, very talented, great prices, great shipping. Hope to have him on the show one day for my interview sessions. Just all around great guy with some great artwork who loves the shows. He actually does these prints and sends them to the actors and stuff sometimes too. It's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
So show him some love, hit up his site. And next week, we're going to start our show with a drawing for all of our commenters for the segment of two, I'm going to call them Infinity Saga based prints that will come in a frame and go to our winner. So shout out to them. Shout out to everybody who's listening, commenting, having fun.
Yep.
I know the world is a stressful place. We try to give you 40 minutes where you don't have to worry about that at all. And you can shit on our takes. You can love them. Just make sure to comment. Justin Tromley's been catching up on all our past stuff. He's been coming through and commenting on stuff a lot. So as we get him through the workday. So shout out to you, buddy. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to everybody who actually helped our channel over 100 followers this week, 100 subscribers.
That's
I think
awesome.
when I get to 250, I'm going to do a giveaway, a big one. Maybe a comic book grail giveaway. So thank you everyone for listening. Tim, thank you. We've talked about it. We got through the movies and now we're in the second leg, my friend. And
yes, sir.
Loving every second. So let's put on our fake smiles for Loki next week. There might be some love to show. And I look forward to our talk. You know, for better or worse, we're together. That's what matters.
Exactly.
Anytime we can be together, the world's a good place. So my friend, I love you. I shall see you soon.
Yes, sir.